Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome back to Shelf Stories, a channel that tells tales from games, books, and life. And also welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop podcast. I'm your host, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us for this latest game chat and latest Kickstarter preview. 'Tis the season for Kickstarters, despite the shipping woes and despite all the supply chain that's happening. We still have project launching, big and small. Today, we have a smaller project for you, but still a valuable project because we love games. We love gaming of all shapes and sizes. I am happy to welcome two alumni of Shelf Stories, in particular of the Voices episodes that I have done. For the Black Content Creators panel, we have the designer of the latest Kickstarter project, which is Wicked and Wise. We'll get into that in just a second, but let me introduce this fabulous person. Lots of designs hitting in over the next little while. So we're going to hear from her more and more often. It is Fertessa Allyse. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
All
I'm
right.
excited to be here.
Again, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Also returning, she was on the Latina content creators panel. She is one of the artists that contributed to this project and also got an early look at it. And we'll just talk about the game and some other things surrounding that after we get through that. But she is Estefania Rodriguez. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about Wicked and Wise and a new trick-taking game that is launching on Kickstarter from Weird Giraffe Games, our friend Carla Kopp, who was on my old podcast, Every Night is Game Night, frequently. So whenever she has a new project, I try to make some time to, give a little bit of shine to that. After that, we want to talk a little bit about, just how it's going, especially as, like we're not talking about 20-year veterans over here. We're talking about people who are on the hustle, making it happen, and how that looks in 2021. We're out of COVID. There's cons going on. And how that looks in terms of building those relationships, kind of post-COVID, and how the board game community looks from the perspective of folks who are, still making our way. So we're going to definitely get that. But we're going to do at the beginning, the sell. This is the one-stop co-op shop, but so it's not a pure cooperative game, but there are partners. It is a trick-taking partner-based game. So I'm going to count that. And I know Peter Guzis, who listens to the show, loves his trick-taking games as well. So hi, Peter. We have another trick-taking game for you if you're interested. So we are going to talk about Wicked and Wise, new project on the channel. I'm going to let Fertessa take it away. What are we getting if we back Wicked and Wise?
So if you back Wicked and Wise, you are getting a team-based partnering game. And if you've ever played Spades or Hearts, you think of that, but each partner has a different role. So you have one partner who plays as a dragon who is in charge of making these tricks and taking them by playing the highest cards. But the other partner is the mouse, and they are more in charge of supporting their partner and kind of stacking their hand with better cards. So imagine the dragon starting with maybe the lower cards, and the mouse can get the really high cards that can help them win the trick. And instead of the objective being just to win all the tricks, you have different goals each round. So maybe you only want to win exactly 2 tricks, or maybe you want to win tricks so that you only win with certain suits. So you've got those things at play while you make your way through the game. And at the end of the game, the team that has the most gold, because dragons love gold, will win the game.
I mean, they love halflings. You could have done halfling meat or whatever it was.
But I wanted dragons and mice because they're super cute.
Oh.
Well, the mice are. And it plays 2 to 6 players, which is something that's really fun because it started off at just 4 players, but we were able to develop it to the point where you could go from 2 to 6. So I'm really excited about that.
How did you pull off a 2-player partner trick-taking game?
So there is a role called a dual role, where you are actually playing as both the mouse and the dragon. And normally all the hands are obscured, but what happens is both players are dragons and they share an open mouse hand. So you can, there's some interesting gameplay there where you can kind of set up how the other person plays because you have to follow suit. So that version gets really thinky, and you ever seen the big mind kind of meme? That's how you feel whenever you play the 2-player mode. I would not recommend it for the learning mode, for the learning game, but once you know how things work, absolutely, I love the 2-player game.
So then 2 players is more like that's a cooperative game, right?
Well, they're still competing against each other.
Oh, they're competing. Okay, so like they have the shared mouse hand, and you're competing. Like it's like one little mouse is like passing along.
Yep, exactly.
That's a very different feel than a partner's game. Okay. Okay. Estefania, you designed the logo, I believe.
Yeah, I did the logo, and I did play test the game too, which is really good.
So tell us about it. Tell us about your impressions of Wicked and Wise.
Yeah, so one of the things that I actually told Fertessa, I was like, I hope you play test. I don't like trick-taking games, so I went in with, I was like, I'm gonna do my best to give, good feedback and stuff like that, but just by nature, I just kind of don't like them. However,
what's wrong with them? Before we get to that, what do you find not so great about trick takers?
I don't know. I don't like that mechanic of like having to try to win them. I don't know how to explain it besides that. It just doesn't seem fun. Whether I win it or not, I'm like, oh, cool. Like,
well, it can be random. It's like, oh, I happen to have the right card. Yep, look at that.
And it's funny because I do like randomness in games. There's something in that I just don't particularly like. So when I went to play test it, I was like, okay, I'll play and stuff like that, but I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And then I played it and I had a lot of fun. And I think it's because of that dual thing. Because I got to play with another person who was my partner, who was my mouse. And it was just a different, not mechanic, but I mean it is, but it's a different feel to play with someone in that kind of game. And that made it more fun for me. And I played the dragon and I want to play again, but I want to play as a mouse because I think that's going to be like my highest of like liking the game. Like, because the mouse has a different role. Their role is not trick taking in a sense, right? Like that's more of the dragon. So I think being able to help my partner is probably what would be the most fun for me. So even though I don't like trick taking games, I feel like if you don't, you can still play the game and have fun because it isn't traditional trick-taking game in a sense, but it definitely is in that realm.
So what because you were nodding before about like it could be a little lucky. Is that kind of what inspired this design for Tessa? Like you wanted something that had a little bit more kind of mitigation back and forth?
No, it was actually inspired by me trying to design a cooperative game that I would find fun.
What? Oh my God! You're on the One Stop Cooperative Shop. Don't say that out loud. What are you doing?
I know. I can't believe she said that.
What?
Yes, I know. But there's so many games I haven't played yet, so
we'll find something for Tessa. We'll find something.
So much time.
I got so much on here. That's all co-op, all of it.
Sign me up.
And so I think for me, solving the puzzle of a co-op isn't as interesting as it is like figuring out how to work with another player.
Sure.
And kind of trusting them to do their part. So that got me thinking down the lines of like spades and how you have to trust your partner even though you don't know what's in their hand. You have to trust them to play what's good for the team and hopefully set you up or you set them up so that you can swoop in and win the trick. So I wanted to make some sort of a game where each person had their independent role, because also in cooperative games, the ones that I did really, my interest was kept was whenever you had these different roles and that character was unique, like say Dead of Winter, and only that character could do that thing or they were good at that thing and that made me feel good or like my choices mattered.
Yeah.
So I wanted
Captain Sonar is a big one. So have you played Captain Sonar? Captain Sonar is like it's like an 8-player game. That's all you got. And you're in a submarine and each player has a role. So like, you know, what one person is shouting about like where the enemy is, one person in charge of the weapons, and everybody has their own little role, and we're kind of like, and that's all like coordinated. You have to like coordinate that stuff. So in real time, so it gets really chaotic. But yeah, I mean, there's actually not I think about it, there's not a lot of like most of the co-op games are puzzles. They're basically solo games that they're blown out. You know, there's not a lot of games that A, do the limited thing where you have your own private hand, and B, give you the separate avatar with separate kind of power and motif. So you're really doing something over there. Well, wow.
Yes, I'm really excited about it because, you know, by having your separate roles, you can process it in your hand, you can process it at your speed, and pick the role that you feel comfortable with, because I have played with a few people who don't enjoy trick taking, so they like taking on the mouse role because
there she is. She's that was me too. I only play trick takers because everybody plays trick takers. And I'm like, I was like, all right, you know, all right, fine. Everybody knows this, and we'll play this. I don't enjoy them, but like, it'd be nice to step into something. Like I'm a natural cleric, so I was like, here you go, have some, have giant tricks, and have you know, I'll set you up. That's great.
The cards that you use are dual purpose, so they'll have the number and the suit in one end, but on the bottom they have abilities. So you're using the same cards, but you're paying attention to different parts of it depending on your role. So it's really cool to kind of set up your partner and you know, just enjoy different aspects of the game. So I'm really excited to see people get their hands on it.
Absolutely. All right. What are we looking at for the Kickstarter is launching soon?
Yes,
it should
August 10th.
August 10th. We should be. I think this will be a couple days after launch. So like, you know, just go over to the Kickstarter page and then, you know, see if this is the right project for you. Is there anything else that either of you would like to share about the project before we move on?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a great game. Like I genuinely being honest that I don't like trick taking games, and I genuinely had fun with this. And the next time I want to play as a mouse, because I think it's just perfect. Like you said before, you know, you have your own hand. You don't have to solve the same puzzle. You're just coordinating with each other and trying to do the best, what you think is the best for the game, for the team. And that's the aspect that I really like about it. So go get it. You're gonna regret it if you don't.
Estefania would have found a way to not be on this call if she didn't like this game.
It's true. I'm like, you know what? I dropped my pencil. I have to pick it up. I can't be in this meeting.
Go ahead, Fertessa.
Thank you, Estefania. Yes. So one thing that I'm shouting from the rooftops is we were so lucky to get Beth Sobel to do the art for this game. And she really brought everything to life, even just like the suits. I had very low expectations for what kind of theme we would put on it, like what we were going to do, and that she was actually able to contribute to this and really just make the best dragon and the best mouse one could ever ask for. Makes me so happy just to look at the cards. So yeah.
Well, there are people that back just on her name alone. You know, it's like, ooh, Beth Sobel did something. Here we go. We're doing that.
They're gonna get dual. They're gonna get like awesome Beth and awesome Fertessa. Like you just can't beat that.
Can't beat it.
It's always a nice surprise for me. I'll get a game and then I'll open the thing and it'll be like Beth Sobel, and I was like, that makes sense. I really do like this. It's just
he did it again.
But yes, I really hope that you'll at least check it out. We're gonna have some how to plays and some reviews coming in for the Kickstarter, so hopefully you can easily get to those. But absolutely, it has 2 to 6 players, and the modes feel differently depending, as I described with the 2-player mode. But there's a lot of variety depending on your player count. And, you know, even if trick takers aren't necessarily your thing, still definitely look into it, because it does play differently and you can take on that like support role as the mouse, which I think is also very fun.
Very cool. That was Wicked and Wise. Go ahead and check out the Kickstarter link in the show notes down below. It should be live as this program is live. And if you like what you hear gameplay wise, then please go ahead and check it out. But if you also just want to back, because these are two amazing people. And that's exactly why I wanted to have them on the show. Like I'll do that sometimes. Like, oh wow, this person's back in a Kickstarter. Back. What is it? I don't know. Taking unback. No, I'm kidding. All right, so let's get to know them a little bit more. You heard again, they've been on my show, and you've seen them on other shows as well. But I believe that both Estefania and Fertessa, you both have positions in the industry now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like relatively new in the last little while that you've gotten your positions.
I'm the newest one from it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it's
about 9 months for me.
Well, that to me, that's like,
yeah,
relative to some people who've like, oh, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah, 9 months is nothing. So tell us, introduce us. We'll start with Estefania. Tell us about your new position.
Yeah, so I started mine in March, so I think that's 5-6 months. I'm not sure how to count anymore. But I'm an art producer at Funko Games. It's been a lot of fun. It's been really interesting working on these projects. Fertessa sits, I want to say 3 or 4 feet away from me.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see each other every day. We talk, we laugh, we cry together. Sure.
Aww.
No, I'm just kidding. It's been really fun kind of being in the industry in this kind of role. I've never been an art producer before. I'm usually a game designer, graphic designer. So it's been interesting, but really fun. And I'm learning a lot too.
Mm-hmm. I remember when the announcement came about your position at Funko Pacific, but tell the peoples, what are you doing over there?
Yes, I am a game producer at Funko Games, and I've been doing it for like 9 months now, coming up on that year anytime. And yes, I get to both kind of keep the games on track, kind of like a project manager, but at the same time, you get to like dip your hands in so many different pots. So I'm also helping designing games, and it's just super fun. Like there's so many different miniature challenges. Like just yesterday, I learned how to spray paint.
Oh,
so
there you go.
it's very interesting. You never know what you're going to do day to day. I mean, you know what you're going to do, but you never know what's going to be thrown at you. It's
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, being, newer in the industry and rising up, I wanted to just, check in and see, like, how is it going? Like, what does the game industry look like kind of as we emerge from COVID? Do you feel like you're able to kind of stay connected in the industry? Do you feel like those pipelines are open, or has it been a little bit of a struggle in terms of, feeling connected with, the industry, getting the ins and outs, and especially, from, breaking in, people want to, like, I got a lot of people, it's like, I want to break into the industry. There's like, with board games reviewer and media, the designer forums, a lot of people they are asking that question. It's like, what is it like? How do I do it? And I feel like, I'm talking to 2 women who are a couple steps in, and, we can maybe, talk to some of those people who are kind of brand new, let them know your experience, see how it's going. So Fertessa, do you have any opening thoughts on that one?
Sure. I was actually one of those people that was posting on forums trying to figure out how to get into the industry. And I didn't imagine that was something that was possible for me because I was very new until like much later in my career.
Much.
There are a couple of decades in there.
Okay.
So I just, I would say that the biggest catalyst to me being able to get to this place was me putting myself out there, because I did post on forums trying to figure out how do the people that are currently in the industry get there. I posted on Twitter, on Facebook groups, and different people would answer different ways. So I got involved with rule book editing. I got involved with any sort of thing that I could volunteer for, working with the online conventions and things like that. And even just speaking up like that in groups and joining different discussion groups. that was what put me in contact with different people and kind of widened my network. And so whenever I did decide to move to Seattle, one of those people who had remembered that I was moving to Seattle and was looking for something within the industry reached out to me and set up an interview. And that was how I was able to, really get my foot in the door as far as producing. But it was only because I knocked on every door possible, left a note, and just tried to make myself seen, because I did not know who needed to see me.
So cast the net wide, just like throw it all out there. It's like someone's going to see me.
It's like there's nothing to be ashamed of, and you just people can't help you if they don't know you need help. So,
well, I'll get to that little bit of shame in just a second, but I wanted to get to Estefania. So, did you have a similar path of that kind of casting that wide net and being seen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played games before the pandemic, like board games and stuff like that, but I wasn't too deep into it. And then when the pandemic hit, there was nothing to do but figure out what to do in the house. Like you had to find things. And that's kind of when I dove into the gaming community, because I figured what time better than this when everyone's kind of online. And just like Fertessa, I tried to do anything and everything I could in playtesting groups. I became a mod in 2 different playtesting groups. So one of them was Break My Game, and the other one was the Seattle game designer one.
That's a really underrated one because it's not that hard to become a mod.
Yeah, it's those are both great ones, and I learned a lot from that. I played anyone's game that I could, and then one of the things that I was thinking when you were talking to Tessa, like one of the things that I did, and like you, be nice, be helpful, that's simple to get people to talk to you, to get people to connect with you. If you're nice, if you're kind and you're helpful, if you play their game and give them genuine feedback, if that kind of stuff matters, that kind of stuff helps, because the moment you help someone, they're like, oh, I want to help them back, because you feel like you got something from them in a sense, right? And not everyone wants to help, and you would think that that's not common, but it is common sometimes. People don't want to help other ones, but when you do help the good ones, you get a response, and people really attach to you, and that's kind of how you grow a little community of your own, and you get to know people, and you keep connecting with people, and that's really how I got to where I was. Just I did hundreds of hours and a few months of playtesting. I talked with more people than I can remember. I played with people all over the world: New Zealand, Australians, oh my God, Europeans, Latin America, anyone and everyone. And that really helps, broaden your horizons with not just people themselves, but how people design and how people create. And that kind of stuff really led to somewhere for me at the end. I got laid off from my job when I worked in Las Vegas, and I kind of put out a call, kind of like Vanessa was saying, if you don't let people know that you need help, and no one's going to help you. And I kind of put it out there. I was like, hey, I got laid off. If there's anyone who needs a graphic designer or something like that, reach out to me. And I got 3 gigs from that, graphic design wise. And that's how I got Wicked and Wise. That's how I got to do a logo for her, which at that time, I didn't know it was going to be for Tessa's game. Carla just reached out to me, and it was logo work. And I was like, ooh. And then later on, I was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, it's for Tessa. Oh my gosh. So that was really cool. And then after that, it applied to Funko and stuff like that, and all that time that I spent connecting with people helped.
Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, and this was a thread that just happened a couple of days ago, the dreaded sense of imposter syndrome comes up. And so that feeling that because as you were talking, Fertessa, both of you, but really as Fertessa was talking in terms of being seen, that's the last thing some people want. And they feel if they post, especially if they're newer, that no, if I put myself out there, but then they talk to me and I disappoint them, then I'm like even further back than I've started. And you get that mental just hamster wheel spinning.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about that experience. Like, did you have to go through that? Did you have to kind of like go through, process your imposter syndrome in order to be able to get to that scene point? Or was it, just, I want this so bad, I'm going to, just go for it. How did it play out for you?
Yeah. So for me, I very strongly am an introvert. And I think my love for games has helped me push past where I'm comfortable and like really expand that so that a lot of people think that I might be an extrovert. That's a trick. That's not true. But
I'm with you, Fertessa. Once this camera goes off, we're going to bed. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yes. Like, don't believe the hype. But I would say that imposter syndrome, it actually set in a lot more whenever it was with in-person events. I was always comfortable creating discussions and talking online because that was how I expressed myself with all the things that I enjoyed, all my geek stuff. So I was comfortable being seen through a screen versus being seen in person, where I had to actually play test and flag people down and, hey, I think that I'm good enough that you should spend your time playing my game, please, and thank you. So fighting through that was the hardest thing for me. And it took probably a year and a half of play testing from that. But I would say that the support that I felt from like my digital ventures, where I started to make connections online and try to participate in these online game design contests, things like that helped me kind of feel a little bit better, because what started happening was I started to see returns on like my digital explorations, because I put myself out there on the online contests, and because I made a work in progress diary on BGG, people remembered the name of my game, Book of Villainy, which is my first game. And because that constantly came up when they saw it at a convention, people will walk up on their own and be like, oh, I recognize that name. Actually, I've been wanting to try that. So that happening was what really helped ease me into feeling more comfortable about being seen, because I was able to get that kind of feedback. And again, this also combined with just me loving board games that much that I just had to bite the bullet and keep doing it. I also went to art school, so I was used to kind of harsh critique for the sake of like doing a thing. So that maybe kind of desensitized me a little bit, and helped me to ease forward that way. But that was how I kind of got more comfortable with being seen, even if like inside I felt like I wasn't quite where I needed to be. It was the publisher and the publisher aspect that probably I dragged my feet on the longest.
Similar journey, Estefania, or a little bit different?
Yeah, one thing that I think has to happen for you to, as a person, to do these kinds of things and get yourself out there, for me, is to be fearless. That doesn't mean to not be fearful. Like, the way I see it, not fearful, like there's something to fear, but like you can be scared, of doing something. You can be scared of putting yourself out there, but you have to put that in a bag for a little bit and act fearless and go forward and meet people and feel that awkwardness. And then when all of that's done and you go home, it's, you're back to safety in a sense, right? And it's okay that fear may still be there, but when you act fearless and you get yourself, try to get yourself out of your comfort zone, I think that is really what helps you move forward. Because like both of you, I'm not really, I'm pretty shy a lot of the times. And I try to do my best to not be like that. But, that's when that's why I say, like, I put my little fear in the bag and I hold it there. So it's still part of me, but I try to push forward and push through all of those feelings. And because of it, I've met a lot of wonderful people, like both of you, like seriously, like people like you, who are great and friendly and funny. And that I hope to, Jason, I hope to meet you in person one day. Fertessa, I've met, obviously she's right behind me.
It's about 3,500 miles, so we'll figure that out at some point.
Yeah, it will happen. It will happen. But yeah, just being fearless is the best thing that I can tell you to try to do in order to get yourself out there and just be seen.
I think it's like you're not gonna be fearless. I think that people get that into that trap of like, if I have fear, that's an indicator that's a problem, right? It's like, and they sense that fear. It's like, okay, if I have fear of this, then like that fear must be based on something. It must be based on that I'm not like crappy. But like our brains lie all the time. Like our brains have a default to safety. Like it defaults to safety, and like doing a risky thing, any risky thing is going to tickle the back of our brains. But then you kind of access. I love how you said, Fertessa, like I love games so much, you know. And it's like you don't want to say like I'd be afraid to not be in games, but like it kind of is. It's like I don't want that. I don't want to not be here. So I'm going to use that rocket fuel. I don't want to be here to rocket past this vestigial fear that shouldn't even be there, but you know. It's just there as like as an automatic mechanism. Like I just have to blast past that to get what I want. And honestly, to get what the gaming community needs. Like like we've talked about this many times, the gaming community needs these faces, you know, and thank goodness. so then, you know, now that we're here, now we you know, it's post-COVID, and the cons you mentioned before, cons opening up, you mentioned before, the in-person experience. Is that, you know, how's that going for you? Are you looking forward to that, or is that kind of, or, you know, either on the COVID end, but just like, you know, taking those next steps in the industry, because there's always, you know, ladders to climb. So how do you feel? I'll go with the Estefania first. I've been going to Fertessa first, so I'll go to.
I would say it's not post-COVID. I'd say it's post-lockdown, because we're not in lockdown anymore. Yeah. But COVID is very much alive. For clarifying. No, yeah. But how do I feel about being in this time? You know, you're saying cons are kind of happening, but kind of, you know, it's very tricky stage right now for all those things. I myself am not fully comfortable with going to events like that. I used to go to cons all of the time. So I know what it's like to be close to so many people, and I'm already kind of uncomfortable with that sometimes. So I think that extra layer for me is hard, but it does affect my way of thinking, because I'm like, well, if I don't go, I won't network, I won't meet anyone, I won't know what's the latest and greatest, you know. So that I know that does affect, but thankfully the internet helps us be closer together and those kinds of things, you know. So if you're not comfortable going out and stuff like that, you can still, I mean, you can still network, you can still be in the industry and be part of the community, but just being online, I mean, that's how I got started, and that's what I do and what I did. So there's, you know, you don't have to be there in person just to have a better chance. It's just a different chance. It's just another way to get there. But
it does feel a little bit harder, though. Like, yeah, like there's a higher degree of difficulty doing as much networking as you would maybe want or need to, you know, as an outsider, you know, because this is like, it's Zoom. Like, thank God for Zoom. We love Zoom, but like, oh. It's so hard. I get off. I'm exhausted. I don't feel like I'm my best self on this thing. So
for sure, I think there's pros and cons to both things. You know, and right now the way we're in, you kind of have to take what you can and choose what you want to do, because who knows when everything will be, you know, I don't know if it's back to normal, because I don't think we're going ever to be back where we used to be.
It could be a new normal. Yeah.
I think it's just, a new normal is a better way to put it, you know. So I don't know where we're going to be in a stage where everyone's more comfortable traveling and more comfortable being at cons, but in meeting new people, because that's really hard in general. And now meeting new people with COVID around, it makes it extra hard, for sure. So it'll be, you know, it might be a while, but there's ways for one to be involved in the community and get to know people and learn.
How about you, Fertessa? How are you feeling towards the end of the year? We're going to get those cons fired up. Is that your prime networking thing? Is that, I was actually talking to Jay Bell is also a contributor on the project, and he says he's going to everything because he's trying to get his game signed. And and that, even as comfortable or uncomfortable as it feels, like, I mean, this is, I got to get my game signed. Is that kind of impulse? So where are you at with all
that? For me, I'm not in any rush. I'm kind of like in this very cautious stage where I'm seeing, what precedents are going to be set. But I've always been cautious with conventions anyway, because con cred is real. So I had already established like a routine to keep myself in relatively good health. And should I attend a convention, I'm just going to like doubly emphasize that. I will, instead of, making sure I go to bed by midnight, I would make sure maybe I'm in there by 8:00. What do I need to do? I go, get dinner, wash my hands after every game, not eat at any board gaming table or share anybody's food, wear my mask, like things like that. If I do attend a convention, then I'm just going to be on kind of a high alert. I would only really want to attend it for social functions of like meeting people that I've been talking to for the last year, 2 years, it feels like. And just kind of touch base and play games I haven't played before. But again, even if I did that, it would be in a very minimal level. Like, hey, can we, just the four of us, go over here, not in the hall of thousands of people, and just play in this corner? And then, take my distance, maybe go to the hotel room, something like that. And then also the convention that I am looking at is like way further out, like 6 months or so. So that one is the Tantrum Con. So it's a smaller one. Yeah, it was in South Carolina, but I believe this year they moved it to North Carolina. So yeah, I would really just kind of emphasize the social and the kind of touching base that, you're not across from me, like you're across from me, you're not through a screen, just kind of enjoying that part, but still being very cautious.
So neither of you really feel that pressure. You feel like you're both comfortable kind of where you're at. It doesn't need to be that kind of like, well, if I got to grab my opportunity, or you got to go for it, got to make it happen, or else it won't happen. You're able to kind of like ease off, which I think is a good message to get out to people. Because I think that people can be impatient with some of this stuff. And I understand that, both my guests are in the industry, employed by the industry. So there's a little bit of slack, but they're not that far away from all of us, right? They're still, breaking in, and they're able to be a little bit patient. Go ahead.
And the thing to add, because so we're here for Tessa's game that's getting published. That's awesome. I have my own game, and I have no intention of getting it published soon. I was going to do a Kickstarter and stuff like that. But even though I really want my game to be out there, for me right now, that is not my priority. And it's not just because of the new job. It really is a thing where, like, if I can't fully commit to it to go to cons and stuff like that, because I know that's what I need to do, because I'm not comfortable yet, and I know that I'm like, okay, so then it just has to wait. I wish I could take it. I wish I could go and get it published with someone, or self-published. But to me, not that there's anything wrong if you go to the con and you go put your game out there. That's awesome. Everyone has their own road. But if you're just more cautious, I think for me, I'm holding on. Holding off from doing that, but one day I will move forward with it, because it's my game and I want it out there.
It'll still be there. The games don't expire like milk.
Right. Yeah.
The game will still be just as awesome, either it's 2 years or whatever it is down the road. All right. So, I mean, any last words? I think we're talking to people who are kind of newer in the industry, or kind of curious about that. Any last words for people? I mean, besides the general, like, don't be afraid to be seen. Is that kind of the take home, or is there a little bit of a mix on it?
No, I think that's a good one. And the only thing I would say to add is ask questions. Don't be afraid to learn.
And for me, I would say that I read this book a couple of months ago that made me very aware of like what I was doing and how to get myself in a better state, a mental state, when it came to my game designs. And it's that your brain spends so much time sending negative things, like just internally, you shoot down your own ideas, or you say, oh, why'd you do that, stupid? Or, you insult yourself and say negative things.
No one's gonna like
Let's
that.
say,
how did you think that's good?
right? Like you do that to yourself 80-90% of the time in the day, and you have no filter. Nobody say, hey, shut up, don't say that. You just sit there and like sit in your own negativity. And it's not you purposefully feeling bad. You could be totally happy, but it's just something that we naturally do, is just shoot down our ideas to the point that we are used to it and don't even notice it. And so like that carries over whenever you actually try to go towards something and do something like game design. And so I found, like, when I read that, I really listened to my internal voice as I go through my tasks from day to day, and I stop myself, like, you're not stupid. There was a reason we thought that, or like, why do I feel this way? Like, question that voice, because you've probably been going years, decades, not questioning that voice. And if you actually question your internal voice and why you feel justified in thinking that you're not qualified to do something, you'll find that they had no ground to stand on. They're just saying it because you let them. Now maybe a whole different person, but that internal voice just says things because you let it. So don't let it have free reign and control how you tackle things, because you can do it. You just have to be purposeful in what you do. And if you want to pursue game design or anything within the game industry, then just be purposeful about it. Look into the resources that are out there, and then if you can't find the resources, try multiple avenues and putting yourself out there until somebody, sees you and can hopefully send you the right direction.
Words of wisdom. We're going to close on that. That's beautiful.
She's so wise.
She's so good. So wise. My goodness. All right. Oh, she's frozen. Oh no, couldn't even take her compliment. There you go.
You're still high. Computer couldn't take it.
I'm still here.
There you go. Wicked and Wise is going to be on Kickstarter. That is the project. We have more to come. This is the future of the industry, people. And I know I can't speak from any kind of authority. I'm kind of in a similar position and everything, but like, I guess I'm speaking half from just like hope and aspiration, and half from just like looking at it and judging the fire. I sensing like a lot of fire in the belly, and a lot of love for gaming. So this has to be, right? This has to be the future of gaming. So Estefania Rodriguez, Fertessa Fertessa Allyse.
Yeah. Yep, Fertessa Allyse Scott. Yep.
Something like that. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
If you can change your mind, you can change the world. So until next time, lay everybody.
Bye.